Just checking out the audio here. Just checking out the audio here. Just checking out the audio. Okay, that works. Okay. Why does it say for waiting? Oh, there we go. 2 watching now. Mute desktop audio just in case any notifications pop up. Bring up my folder with some images in it. Everybody should see me in Photoshop. And that is correct. Oh, that's not what I want happening. I kind of wish the chat functionality showed up in my streaming software. So I have to pop the chat out, drag it over, do that, do that. Nope, that's not what I want. Can I pop chat back in? Yes, okay. There we go. This will work a little easier. Sorry, this is going to be a little bit different with me. Usually when I'm doing a stream, I'm staying in one window, which is just the browser window. But I've got a couple windows to go through, and then a few more that I've got running here to also manage with I got some images to upload and some things like that. So it will be a little bit tricky, but just a little more mental management on my part. We'll give it a few more minutes. It's the official time is 12:59. At least by nope, just turned 1. We'll give it a few more minutes just to let some people filter in. I did say it was going to start at 1, so we'll get chat in here in a minute. If anybody notices anything weird, just chat it at me. I think I've got everything set up right. We'll see. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started here. So, hello, folks. My name is Matt Goins. Most of you know me. I'm the trainer for the WiscWeb team. And this training is going to be about image editing, specifically for your websites, using Photoshop. And then as I was tinkering around with this yesterday, prepping, and then this morning, sort of getting everything ready, I kind of thought, well, it'll be image editing with Photoshop because I'll show you, or I'll walk you all through what my process is for getting images ready for websites and sort of what that process looks like. But then also just kind of troubleshooting a few things with not troubleshooting, but just kind of walking you through what my usual process is when I'm building out page elements or content elements um, with those images that I might be putting on page. So things like featured content blocks, alternating content blocks, faculty staff images. Um, we'll kind of go through those hero images. We'll kind of go through those just to kind of show you just some different things to consider when you're building out content with images in them. Um, why does image optimization matter? When should you be considering it? Things of that nature. So, I guess to start with, I am going to be using Photoshop to do my image editing. It is something that we do have access to through our campus software library. You may want to contact your local IT in this new world of working from home, etc. I don't know how things are being managed for everybody else. I know when we're on campus, you can contact someone and they'll come help you, or they'll do it via some sort of distributed process. I don't know how this works now for most folks, but if you go to well, this is the eventual URL, but if you go to software.wisc.edu, that will take you to this location, software.wisc.edu, and you can log into the campus software library there. You log in via your net ID and your campus password. Is it going to make me authenticate again? Sure, why not? Authenticate live, they say. So once I've authenticated, there is the Adobe Site License section right there. And then, there's just information on here for us as faculty and staff for you to get information about using Adobe Creative Cloud to install things to your computer. Sorry, spaced out there for a second. But again, if you have questions about how to do that, make sure that you touch base with whomever your local IT would be. Just again, not knowing what instructions you may have or what information they may have to provide you. So, images in WordPress and images essentially on websites. So one of the things that you want to pay attention to is why does image quality and why does image optimization matter to you when it comes to your website. First and foremost, the quality of your images will strengthen the content of your site, and it will present a more professional looking web presence. One of the things that always gets me whenever I'm helping folks out, either in open labs or during training, and people will bring up their existing sites or their new WiscWeb sites, is a lot of times images are chosen and used just because it's the image that you have, it's the image that you were provided with, whatever it might be. And when those images are used, they're just, the quality is usually going to be much less than what you would really want to have on your site. So that's one of the things that you have to take into account is just how does it look, and I think everybody should be I guess everybody should be critical of the way that your websites look. You shouldn't just accept or do it and then move on from it. If it doesn't look good, don't use it. The other thing that optimized images do, and making sure that you edit your images outside of this, and we'll talk, I'll kind of interchange image editing versus optimized images. Is optimized images will they will improve the performance of your website. Um, when you're using very large images, it takes a lot of time for it to load. Sorry, my kids are all running around behind me, working from home. I apologize for that. Um, the larger the image, the more time it will take to load. This you will notice a lot if you are using a hero image and you are using multiple images in the hero area. You'll start to notice that slow down quite a bit when you're coming to your site. So faster loading pages leads to improved search engine optimization rankings as well. This is one of the things. So Google has a complex algorithm for um, search engine optimization (SEO), and a lot of things are taken into account. And how fast your page loads is one of those things. It helps improve what your eventual rankings are going to be. And then at the end of the day, kind of what I was just talking about with quality of images, an optimized image, it's going to improve the user experience, not only from the standpoint of um, finding your content to the SEO type things, but just again, speaking as someone who is, I do have a critical eye for when I look at websites. Image quality matters to me. Optimized images matter to me. And so when I look at pages and when I look at sites and they don't have good images, they just use images just because, it's it's just something that you want to make sure that you are addressing, because people do notice those things. So a little bit of information about optimizing an image and making it more friendly for your site. I'm going to kind of bounce around here and try to make sure that I can see everything here. Okay, you guys can see this. Your media library. I'm doing this through my training environment, so that's why the weird coloring and the weird URL there. But to access your media library, you just click on Media on the left, and you can upload images by just dragging and dropping. I've got two of those. That's fine. So you can kind of see they're loading in there. One thing to note, and this is something that I've talked about in some of our lunch and learns, and then I've talked about it in open labs and things like that, is make sure that you are paying attention to your file names, because if you try to upload a file name that has what's called an illegal character, so illegal characters are things like apostrophes, quotation marks, pound signs, asterisks, things like that. WordPress won't let you upload those because it considers those things to be illegal characters, and they're illegal because of the fact that those are also characters that can be used for essentially what are called code injections. And so it doesn't allow those types of files to be uploaded. So make sure that you're attending to those file names and use hyphens when you need to. You don't need to use apostrophe s when it's the possessive of someone's file. That usually comes into play with PDFs. A lot of times people try to upload PDFs. Okay, so when you upload your images, a couple of things that I always encourage people to get into the habit of when they upload a brand new image, either when you're working directly on page or if you're going directly to the media library and doing this, is once you upload it, take a look at several things. First is the alt text. The alt text, I have stressed this in other trainings. Let me bounce out of here just because my kids are going to be running around behind me, so you guys don't need to see them in there. So alternative text, it has to do entirely with web accessibility, and it has entirely to do with screen readers and people who can't see the content that's on the page. They will use a screen reader to read that content to them, and the alt text is essentially the description of the image that is happening. So this is just something that is an absolute necessity when it comes to designing sites and building sites here on campus. So you essentially you just describe what the image is. So that's that. Terrace chairs following a rain shower, and that describes what they're seeing. Um, Terrace chairs. Maybe I want to be a little more descriptive, and table following a rain shower. The other thing to be aware of is the title. The title of an image will always uh, default to whatever the file name is of the image that you uploaded. This may not be the most ideal title that you want. This is especially true for those of you who take your own pictures and upload them, or you get pictures from people and upload them. It's always going to have like an IMG something, IMG dash, or DSC something or other. These are all the digital camera image file names. So you want to make sure that you give it a more appropriate title for two reasons. One, this will come into play with some other type of content that you can create, which is the description field. But also, more importantly, it helps you find these things. It makes your media library more search friendly. So terrace chairs. I could say rainy terrace chairs. Now, I did pull this image from the campus photo library. I'll go to that in a little bit here. But whenever you pull images from the campus photo library, they will come with a caption already in place for you. So you can edit that as you see fit. Again, the caption will be something that will be picked up for search engines when they crawl your site. It is text that does appear on the page. Content on page is always king when it comes to search engine optimization. So you don't have to use a caption if you don't want to, but just be aware of the fact that it is something to be used if you sort of there. And then lastly, there is the description field. So the description field actually doesn't appear on page, nor does it appear anywhere in the code in the back end of the content. The description is an additional content item that is applied. I shouldn't say can be. That is applied to what's called an attachment page, and the attachment pages are pages that are automatically created whenever you upload a particular content item. And so you don't see them here, you don't see them in the copy link there either, but this is the attachment page content using the description field. So again, this won't appear on page. This won't appear in the code itself. So you don't have to necessarily worry about it. But it is something that could potentially be used by search engine optimizations, for this particular content within your site. I tend to disregard the description field. It's just not something that I use, and maybe that's to my detriment. But I have not found it to be as needed as the other items that are in this particular section here. So again, this is just something that I would recommend everybody get into the habit of when you upload a brand new item is alt text title. Caption can come if you want to use it, but these two are the most important items that you need to address whenever you upload something brand new. So another thing to note is when you upload these items and you click on one, you can kind of see some of the general information right here. Let's see. The file size, 4 megs, and the dimensions, 2400 by 1600. We'll get back to this in a little bit because this is where we're going to get into the actual image editing aspect of it in a few minutes here. So this is kind of what the process is for when you're first starting to create your media library. So one of the things to be aware, I shouldn't say one of the things. So moving on from that idea is what types of images should you be using, and what size images should you be aware of. So the types of images, Media Library can and WordPress can upload or can take JPEGs, JPGs, of course. They can take GIFs, GIF, and they can also take PNGs. The difference between the three, you can probably look those up, but I'll just kind of run through what I am aware of. So the PNG is probably the highest quality of image that you can upload. It maintains good image compression while also maintaining good quality of the image. Lower compression means larger images. JPEGs, there's more compression on the image, which means that the quality of the image will be lost a little bit more. And then GIFs are, of the three, they're the ones you want to use probably least for just general image placement. GIFs are best for smaller, simpler images, and then also for animated images. So, obviously everybody's seen GIFs, the animated GIFs. Those are usually best for smaller images there. So let's talk a little bit about some of the content areas that you can use images in, and some of the sizes. Bringing this up. Some of the sizes that you can use for this. So out at our knowledge base, I do have a knowledge base document that I created a while ago, and it's this number 7 right here. It's using Photoshop to crop images. It is KB.Doc 73864, and it kind of walks through the process that I'm going to walk you all through in a little bit here. But at the bottom, it has some of the recommended, and I guess recommended is probably not the right word, the needed sizes for these files. And I'm actually going to update this today once we get done chatting, because I want to update this with some other information that I have for you to see as well, which is some of the other image areas that you can use. So just be aware of this. This is kind of what the process is that we're going to walk through in a little bit when we start actually working with Photoshop to tinker with some things. All right, so back over to the media library, back over to my WordPress page. I'm going to go into Pages, and I'm going to add a new page, and I'm just going to call it Image Testing Page. And we'll just call it Image Testing. Okay. I'm going to leave it as a 1-column layout, but we'll play around with that as well later on. And the first thing I'm going to touch on, and this is one of the first things we talk about when we're doing the actual in-person beginners training, is the hero area. So the hero area, to add the hero, you just click on the Add Upper Content and click on Hero Image Carousel. And it gives you a lot of the information about the hero area that you should be aware of. Most notably, what the 600 or what the content area dimensions are, which is 1600 pixels wide by 500 pixels high. And so to add an image, you simply click on Add Image. You find the image that you're going to use. So one of the things to be aware of here, and this is one I should have grabbed a smaller image to put up here. Maybe I'll do that if I can find one on my computer that's okay to put up and small enough to put up for that. But what happens when you take an image that is too small for the hero area is it will not only stretch it this way horizontally to fit, which is where a lot of that pixelation comes into play, but it also then, once it stretches horizontally, it has to stretch vertically to maintain, the square proportions essentially. So you could go from having an image that's this size to go all the way down to like right here on your screen, and suddenly you have this gigantic hero image at the top of your page. And some of you may have experienced this in the past, where it just turns into this gigantic hero at the top of your page, and that is because of the fact that the hero image has stretched to fill the horizontal space and then also had to stretch to compensate the vertical space as well. So that's one of the things to be, or I shouldn't say that's one of, that's the thing to be aware of when you're dealing with a smaller image for that hero area. So now we talk about the larger images. And so you can see over here on the right side, this image is larger than that 1600 pixels by 500 pixels wide. It's 24 by almost 1600. What it does is the theme will center this image and then crop it top and bottom to meet that 500 pixels. And usually that's going to be a good crop that you would want to have happen. I'm going to use this one instead. This one might give us a better example of what's going to happen when that automatic crop happens there. So I'll choose this image and I'll click select, and haha, there you'll see this is the perfect image to show for this demonstration. This is the little preview that I'm getting. I'll click save draft and then we'll click preview to just see it live. This is absolutely not what I want to use for my hero image at the top of the page. All of these heads have been cut off, and that's just not what I want to do. So now we can start to talk about the image editing side of things and how to get this image ready for your page by using Photoshop. So give me a second while I do a little bit of swapping around here. Okay, you all should see Photoshop now over on the screen there. Sorry, I'm trying to maintain the chat, the screens, everything. This is one of those spots where I need 3 monitors at home. All right, so I'm going to pull that specific image into Photoshop. Once you're in Photoshop, I guess just a little preface about Photoshop. Photoshop is an image editing software. It is very overwhelming at first when you first start using it. Now, if and when you do get Photoshop installed, one of the things that I want people to just kind of take a step back is all of this stuff that you see in front of you, you are likely not going to use. I would guess that I have used probably 10% of all that Photoshop can do for me. And that's mainly because I use it for, I used to do digital photography for newspapers. I used to use Photoshop to do, color correction and to fix some of the image quality. And then I use it for cropping, which is what I'm going to teach you how to do right now. So to open the image, I'll just go File, Open. Where's the image? It's right there. So I will, you guys don't see this in the stream, obviously, because this is actually a folder. But I will click Open, and here's the image right here. So this is what the image actually is in my media library. And over here on the left, here are all the tools that you have access to. Again, don't be overwhelmed. There are a lot over there. You're not going to use them all. But I'm looking specifically for this one right here, which is the crop tool. So you click on that. Now, I know exactly what the height and width of the image I need to have for the hero area. So what I'm going to do is up here at the very top, I'm going to click on this little drop down. So these are the cropping options up here. I'm going to click on this little drop down. It starts as ratio, and I'm going to choose the second one, which is width, or W by H by resolution. Again, you guys can't see that on the stream, which is kind of frustrating. Hold on. I'm going to add a different display over here. All right, so let's check to see. Can you guys actually see? Yep. Maybe there it goes. Okay, so now you guys can see this here. This might get a little weird for me. I don't think I have too much open in the background, but whatever. Okay. So options up here, when you click on this little ratio drop down, here's that W by H by resolution. I would click that. Changes some of the options up here, but basically I'm going to use these 3 fields right here. Now, it goes width by height by resolution. So the width, I know exactly what the width is that I need to set it to, 1600 pixels. The height is right here. I need it to be 500 pixels. And then for web-based images, I usually go with 72 as the resolution. And now if you look down here, I'll hit enter just to hit that. And now what you'll see is now I can kind of play around with this image a little bit and maybe get it a little bit more. And you can see it's grayed out down here as well. So I'm getting a little bit, so I can kind of play around with that and maybe just get up to the Drum Major's hat right here. I know there's probably something specifically named for this, but I'm going to call it a hat. So this works for me. So now once I have this set, and this is what I want it to be, I will click this little check mark up here that is the apply. Now, this looks a lot better. I still would probably choose a different image because I just think he's a little too close. And he's cut out a little bit too much. But if you look up here, this right here shows me what zoom I'm at right now. So I'm at 50% of zoom of this image. And I can zoom in more on my screen by holding down my control key and hitting the plus sign. Or if you're on a Mac, command and then the plus sign. And that zooms in. So it's a little bit too much, so I can do control minus to zoom out. So now I'm looking at it. Okay, looks good. So now what I want to do is I want to file, save as, and then I'm going to give it a different name. I'm going to leave it as a JPEG because it was a JPEG already. But now I'm going to give it a different name, and I'm going to say maybe just hero. Hero hyphen Lacrone final game, etc. And so I will save it. Say okay. I usually leave the quality as high. Again, I'm very particular when it comes to images, so I would always leave everything as the highest quality it can be. Say okay. The image was saved. So now what I can do is I can hide this and show this. And let's go back over to my Firefox browser. And let's go ahead and remove this guy because I'm actually not going to use that. I'll click add image. And now what I can do is I can drag in the image that I just uploaded. Give it some alt text, title it, things of that nature. And then click select. There it is. Save draft. Preview. Better. And now I have an image that was not cropped, an incorrect way. So that kind of gets into a little bit of what we're going to be talking about throughout this training, is just like taking a look at some of the different images that you can use. How would you edit them in Photoshop, and then how would you then reapply them in your site. So let's take a look at a few more, and then I'll kind of try and throw out some of the sizes that you would need to know. I'm trying to watch chat as well. Like I said, I've got many windows open, but if you have a question, go ahead and chat it in at me, and I will try to answer as best I can. So let's see. Back into here. So yeah, this one's pretty easy. Nothing too exciting for that purpose. So now let's take a look at another one that groups struggle with quite a bit, is the faculty staff images and how to best get those squared away. So I'm going to go over to faculty staff members, and I'll add a few here. So we'll go with oops. first name, last name. Add a headshot for this guy. It's him. Select. Again, I'm kind of just barreling through this, so you know, I'm going to miss a few things as we go through this. So kind of do as I say, not as I do. I want to make sure that I add several. And then one last one. Oops, I forgot to add Corey's image. I'll do that in a second here. So you'll see the default for no images is this Bucky that we have here. So just be aware of that. There's Corey. Select update. Okay, so I have created 4 faculty staff members. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a faculty staff list on that same page. So I'm going to go back to pages, go back to my image testing. And I will add, so you can click the plus sign to add things, and I will add the faculty staff listing. So a couple things down here, listing title. There you go. What kind? I want to pull in all. We could, this is something else for another day to talk about creating faculty types and posts and things of that nature, categories, I should say. So that's that. Number of columns, I'm going to set it out to 4. Some other things that we can do here, but you can choose to display or not to display the photos if you so desire. And then you also have some options here for the display size of those photos. So the default display size for a photo is, for a faculty staff image, is 400 pixels wide by 400 pixels high. That is what the image element is meant to use. That's not always going to be the case, so sometimes you can choose thumbnail. The default thumbnail size of an image is 150 pixels wide by 150 pixels high. So it's still square, so that's where we'll see in a second why that will hopefully it will work slash not work for this. So I'm going to click Save Draft again, click Preview, scroll down. So it did what I wanted it to do, which is it squared everyone up. Couple of things that I'll kind of poke at here is this image right here. There's actually some more space over here that was cut off for him. For him, you can see that the top of his head has been cut off right here, which is not okay because I don't want that. The image for Corey, there's actually a little bit more here of him, but because these images were wider, especially these two, because these images were wider, Christina came in and she looked okay, because she was already centered in the image, and then when the theme did its automatic centering thing, she was still centered enough that I don't have to worry too much about this. But these two are wider images, and this one is a little bit more of a vertical image, and he's lower in the image, which is why the centering messed up here for him. So now what I can do is, again, pop back on over to Photoshop. And this is edited, so I'm going to close this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab those 4 images and just drag them in. And so you'll see it opened them up. Now it maintained my hero image settings, but that's not what I want. I actually am going to go up here for the crop, and I'm going to choose 400 by 400. So now you'll see I have a little bit more flexibility here, and let's It's kind of you basically want to center up. I'm basically just trying to center up his body in this. So once I have that, I can click that. So there he is. I'll come back around to saving this in a second. Same idea here. 400. Maybe I just want to get a little bit. Oops. There we go. Maybe I just want to move her down just a little bit to get maybe a little bit more of her face in there with some of the background in there. So this is kind of like a shot in the dark sometimes of oops, how you're basically trying to pick this. But so for him, again, if you remember, he was off to the right. I really don't want him off to the right. I kind of want his body centered up so you can see all of him. And then same thing with him. So I want to get more of his head in there. So you can see why this one is a struggle, because it's a closer image, and so it's not going to play as nice. So another thing that I could maybe try to do is I could do an image size, set my parameters to pixels, maybe try to get that just right. It's still going to be difficult to crop him perfectly. So this is a tougher image because of the fact that because it's so vertical, you basically lose the ability to get more of him down there. I think what I would have liked for an image like this is I would have taken about 5 steps back so that I could have a deeper image, which would give me a little more to play with in my image editing. But again, that's photography stuff, and that's you do what you can. All right, so I'm going to save all of these. So I'm just going to add the word edit hyphen to all of these so that I can upload them. Okay, I've edited those, so we're going to go back over to here now. And let's go back to our faculty. Oh, no, let's go to our media library. And give me a second to get these edited images up. Media library sorted by most recent item added first. So you can change this view by clicking here, and then it becomes more of a traditional. I can sort by file name, etc. I tend to live out of this gridded view, though. All right, back down to the faculty staff members. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit each one to put in the newer images. Again, hers is the least noticeable change. And his is still going to look not ideal. And so now what I can do is go back to this page that I was working on, save draft, and preview. And there you'll see a little bit of image editing, and I have made this page a little better, a little more. I don't know. It looks better to me. Um, a lot of you I've seen have struggled with these images getting a little too wide, and they're like offset, some of them. So this is where you have to just kind of play around with editing those images and um, working with them to reach that ideal size. Sometimes 400 by 400 isn't going to work. So I'll work with thumbnail here because maybe the quality won't be ideal. So I put it down to that 150 by 150. And then if you have a specific height and width that you want, so when I went into Photoshop, um, it I had it set to a specific height and width, 400 by 400. You're going to get all kinds of images and all kinds of quality of images. Work with what works best. So 400 by 400 doesn't work for you. It's okay to go, 300 by 300 is what I have, or 250 by 250, or 250 by 300, or whatever it is. But the biggest thing that I want everyone to get to is to create a consistent look. Not this one's 150 by 230, this one's 200 by 400, this one's 400 by 400, this one's 150 by 150. I want you to have the same for each one. And that creates a more consistent look for your faculty staff list. There. So I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm pointed when it comes to this stuff. I'm critical when it comes to this stuff, mainly because I want you all to have quality websites. You are my users. You are my you are my focus of improvement. So I want to make sure that I'm helping everybody get to that point of a quality website. So hero images, choose good hero images. Choose hero images that are relevant to the content that you're putting on your site. Your faculty staff images, make sure that you're using consistent sizes throughout, and make sure that the images are good quality and are honestly one of the things that I kind of poke at a little bit. And I understand that some people don't like having their pictures taken and put on a website. This is kind of like a departmental / program thing where it's like either you all are or you all aren't. But it's okay to just now is not the time, but in future, hopefully, once we hit summertime, hopefully we can get back onto campus. Campus is gorgeous during the summer, and if you have the ability to, go outside and take a nice picture outside in the sun, in front of a building or out in front of some flowers or something like that. It's okay. That'll make for some good images to put on your site, and not a pixelated image that somebody pulled from their Facebook profile, or a pixelated image that somebody pulled from another thumbnail from another site. Or, man, I've seen all kinds. You'll get an image put into a Word document that you somehow have to pull out of that Word document. We can find some different ways to work with you on this stuff, but at the end of the day, it's okay to just grab your phone and take a picture and do it that way as well. I've done that lots in my various professional stages. So it's okay to do that. All right, let's kind of keep poking at some of these different content areas and the different images that you can put into there. We're not going to deal with text blocks, mainly because text blocks you have the ability to choose different sized images. So if I were to click add media and put this image in, it's huge. I don't, if I scroll on down to the bottom, I don't want to put the full size of this images because it's going to load all 4 megabytes of that image. I don't want to do that. I want to use a smaller, more optimized image for this. So I'll say medium, insert it in, and it does go in that way. So with text blocks, you actually have the option to choose a more optimized image. So that's why I'm not really going to spend too much time with that. So faculty staff list, again, just kind of be aware of that. It's something to think about. Let's try a different page element. Your alternating content boxes. Let's go with this one here, and let me just really quick look over at my notes. I don't have these memorized. So the alternating content boxes, their default size or their expected size is 900 pixels wide by 600 pixels high. And the same is true for featured content blocks as well. So we'll play around with that a little bit. Content 1. Some text. So I can I can use menus, things of that nature. Let's see here. Link name, UW Madison. And you guys can't actually see what's on my screen at the moment because, oh, you can. Okay. I've got everything switched right. See? Too many windows open. All right. So we'll just add that just for having something in there. I will add an image. And again, let's use this one here. And I'll say select. You'll get a little preview of it right there. I'll add a new content block. Content 2. More text. Add another link here. Right. Add an image. Too many images to choose from. We'll go with that one. So it's giving you an idea of what some of those should be to ensure it's consistent. Like I said, the 9x6 is like the max area, but consistency is what you want. So 600 by 400 here is what you'd kind of be close to as well. So I'm going to say save draft and preview. There's the text block right there. And then here's the alternating content blocks as well. So, in this case, these work out well because of the fact that they're more horizontal than vertical. So maybe I'll put in a more vertical image for another one. So let me add a new content block. Content 3. There we go. I'm very exciting. Do I have a good vertical campus image? I bet you I don't. All right, well, we'll put her in there. More vertical than not. Select. Save draft. And preview. So there you'll see. Here's one where you can see where the inconsistency will start to happen is these two look good because they're more horizontal than vertical. This one does not look good because it's more vertical than horizontal. And so again, creating that consistency within it. So again, I would maybe go into Photoshop. Open up. This one's already edited down to 4x4, so I don't want to do that. So I'll open up the original. I'll come up here and we'll go 900 wide by 600 high. And that's still not going to be ideal because it's still just going to be her face on it. Ooh, you know what? Let's try a different image. There we go. Yeah, that's too out of focus. All right, we'll go back to her. So 900 by 600. so we can get more of her head in there. So S, we'll call this one edit 2 dash that. Okay. You can see the thousands of windows I have open right now. Not thousands, but I have a lot. So I'm going to go down here and I will remove that one, add the image. Let's hide screen one and just bring it down to this. Upload that new edit 2 that I just did. And select that one. Save the draft and the preview. There we go. A little bit better now because you can step back a little bit more of the face there. Again, I wouldn't choose this image, but I kind of just want to, again, I basically want to point out some of the things that I've seen other users do is throw in the image and just kind of accept it for what it is. You don't have to. You can edit those images down. You can use different content elements. You can play around with some of these different things to see how best you can fit that image into your content area so that it actually will work for you. So again, if there are any questions, just kind of throw them into the chat if you'd like to see me kind of tinker around with something over here. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of keep going down the line of what the different page elements that we can use are. So did that one, so let's do featured content block. So featured content block, again, ideal 9x6 for that, 900 pixels wide by 600 pixels high. Testing this out. Text. I have hit my wit's end, so I will go grab some lorem ipsum. Not going to worry about linking to this right now. Add image. Again, choosing some of these, it's probably not going to be too bad, but choosing a more vertical image, you are going to see some weirdness. So I'll select that one right there. Save draft. Preview. And so you'll see this is how it is. That's interesting. I'm going to take a note of that and chat with the developer about that, because actually what I'm seeing is the text block, you can see it here, it creates a bit of inconsistency with the image will only go so far, but the text block beneath it will wrap all the way to the edge of the content area. And your content area is this space right here. That's what you're confined to. And so this wraps all the way, this doesn't. And so I'm curious as to why that might be. Excuse me while I say out loud. And that just might be an oversight, or not an oversight, an aspect of the one column layout versus a multi-column layout, which I'm going to show you in a second here. Okay. All right. So kind of popping back over here. And actually what I'll do is I'm going to add a content layout. Nope. I wanted a 2-column layout. Featured content block. Feature content block. I'm just going to choose the sample page as the link. Let's go that one, and then add image. Let's go, just to show you the differences, let's go with think that's her original. Yep. Select. So I have those two in there. I'm actually going to delete this one out because I don't like the way that it looks. Again, I'm picky. So if I don't like something, I'll get rid of it. So there you go. Same idea here again. This is what was happening up here. And so what I would want to do is I would want to edit this image down so that it was this one instead. Again, 900 by 600. Let's do this in 3-column. Let's take an image that's smaller. So this is 400 by 400. Let's put that one in. Let's take a decent looking one, and then let's put her large image back in there as well. Select, save draft, and preview again. And down to the bottom we go. So here's where I was talking about earlier now with the inconsistencies. So this one here, it's larger than the expected space. So the theme is doing what it needs to do. This one, larger than the expected space, theme is doing what it needs to do. This one, because I set it to 400 by 400, it's not going to do what it normally does because the image is already smaller than what the expected size is. So it stretched it to meet this same width, the same 600 or 900 pixels wide, even though this is going to be smaller because now it's taking a stretch and reducing it down because of the fact that it's in a 3-column layout. It's weird thought. Stick with the 900 by 600 idea. But because it's smaller than that required size, it now stretched it horizontally, and then because it had to stretch it horizontally, it stretched it vertically as well. And so now you're seeing the implications of that. And I wouldn't want this. This is not okay with me. So I would have to go in, I would remove this image, and I would choose let's see what this one looks like. I'm going to choose the larger image. Click select, save draft, and then preview again. And now the size is consistent because I chose the image that was larger than what was originally there. So that's, I don't know, that's about all that I wanted to say about stuff that happens on page. Let's look at some of the different other page elements that we might have. Let me look at my notes real quick. There is the image. So I don't think image is in 1 column. But I think it's in a 2-column layout. There's the image. So, again, similar idea here. You take an image that's large. It's going to put that whole image in there versus an image that's edited down. Save draft. Preview. This isn't consistent. So what I would do is I would want to edit down, or I would want to grab the edited version of this. So that I can maintain consistency. So again, just trying to show off some of the different things that you can do with images within your site, and some of the things that you should consider when you are laying your pages out. Again, the biggest thing that I want to stress is don't do things just because. Do things with reason. Do things with purpose. And make sure that you're looking at your work and being critical of your work. Look at it and go, oh no, that's not what I want. I need to do something better, and then edit it down so that you can do something better. That's okay. Um, and as always, reach out to me. Reach out to me if you need a little bit of help with trying to edit some of those things down, or trying to pick some of those images to look good, um, and just kind of whatever advice or critique you might need from me, I'm more than happy to critique as well. So don't be afraid to reach out to me and say, hey Matt, can you take a look at this and let me know what you think, and I will give you an honest answer, but I will give you a constructive honest answer. I will say, this doesn't work. Why don't we try this? So one last thing to touch on to show you all is, if you have images, I'm trying to find my notes, sorry. If you have images and you're not, you want to use the full size of the image, but you still want to shrink it down. Remember, you have a hero image. You might want, so look at what happened here. Here's a hero image that's 4 megabytes in size. After I did my editing, it's now under 1 megabyte in size. Now, there are also, so if I still wanted to use, let's say, this is a good image to look at. So it's 2 megs in size, so it's not the worst image in the world, but I still wouldn't want to use this as my hero area. I'd want to use a more optimized image there. There are some places that you can go to actually optimize some of those images. And so one of them is, and I'm going to grab the URLs over here on the right so I can bring them over here, is this one right here, imagecompressor.com. One word, imagecompressor.com. You can upload files, and I'm going to grab that one. Again, it's pretty good. I'm trying to use an image that is a decent size. Well, we've already seen this one. It's 4 megabytes. So I'll put that one up, and it's compressing it. And so now you'll see it compressed it down. I can play around with the quality if I want to, and I can kind of look around in here, and you can see here's the original versus the compressed. Quality's still good. I could take it down even more to 80, say. Losing it. Quality's still okay. Let's go crazy here. Now you can kind of see this really blurred up on the screen versus what you see right here. So let's go back up to 80. 80 was good, and 80 was underneath the neck there. And so now that's decent, and then I can click the download. Okay. It's going to put it into my downloads folder. So let me just go over here to the media library and drag this up and in. So here's the original, 4 megs. Here's the compressed, a meg. Now, this is just something to use if you wanted to have the ability to do this without having to worry about using Photoshop if you didn't want to. So it's just something to think about there. So that's that one, imagecompressor.com, something to use if you want to do that. And then another one is tinypng.com. Same idea, you can upload PNG or JPEG files. And again, I think this one's pretty big as well. Say open. Yep, it's 4 megabyte image. It will compress it. So now you can see it really compressed it down. And so I'll say download, save that file, back over to my media library. So we'll just look real quick. It's about 4 megabytes in size. Let me grab the new one. And there we go. Maintaining quality, but reducing the file size so that it's less size to load on pages when you use this as, say, a hero image or an image that you use on page. So I will put a few more of these notes that I have in my own notes into this KB doc, the 73864, and just I will edit this video down a little bit as well, and I will link to this video in here as well, so that you can kind of see the walkthrough there as well. But that's about it. That's all I wanted to chat about today, was just kind of walk people through the ability to edit your own images using either Photoshop or heading out here to one of these other image compression ones. And honestly, I use Photoshop because I'm now comfortable enough with it that you could use that. You could even crop images in Microsoft Paint. I wouldn't, but you can. And so here's this. So if I want, nope, don't want to do that. Rectangular selection. This gets a little weirder. Oh boy. This just gets a little weirder because Paint doesn't have the robust abilities that Photoshop obviously does. But there you'll see, it doesn't maintain those proportions, so maybe I just want to hit crop, and there we go. So you could use Paint. I wouldn't, but it is something to consider if you wanted to for that purpose there. So okay, does anybody have any questions? If you're watching on the stream right there, otherwise I'm going to I'll mute myself and hang out for a few more minutes. But feel free to reach out to me, matt.goins, Goins, at wisc.edu. Or you can reach out to me in Teams as well, since Teams is now what we're moving towards for our virtual meeting space. So however you can, reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to answer any and all questions. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and be safe. I hope to see all of you soon. Take care.